In this quick and totally non-professional video, I'm going to show you the process I went through to recover the old 1950s 8mm film that I've been putting up on my channel lately. Here's how I do it. So this is the process I used for scanning the films. It was all done on the little Wolverine scanner, and my scanner is actually broken. It blew up on me when I was doing these transfers. The take-up spool no longer turns. The motor burned out. I understand that is one of the weaknesses of these units, is that the motor, I've read reports that their motor has been the weak link, and mine certainly did break down, but I've had this thing for a few years, and I've done several hundred reels of film through it, and they've all been big ones. So it's not something unexpected. Not really a problem, because I can just dump the film into a box on the floor and just reel it up after the fact. It's actually not that difficult. It's actually faster than putting it on the reel. Anyway, I turn the machine on and I start scanning my film, and you'll see when it scans, I'm scanning it in what they call full frame. So the film scans like that. This is the film going through the scanner right down here. And here's the little screen, and as you can see, this is what speed this thing scans at. It's ridiculously slow, but I scan it with the full frame. So the right edge of the frame showing here, there's even some white off the edge of this. This is the scanning table here, so you can see a bit of the above and the below frame, and you can see the sprocket holes. And this is the way I scan it. It just gives you, rather than cropping, because you can zoom in on this unit itself and crop the image so that what comes out is a full frame. But all you're doing is you're just using digital zoom on the little camera that's right here. There's a little camera right in there, right? So that's what's focused down on the film that's moving through there. As you can see, the film is moving. So you can certainly crop it, but the problem with doing that is you're just looking at fewer pixels. It's a 3 megapixel sensor on the little microscope camera, basically. So if you crop it, you're just looking at fewer pixels, and typically the image processing software in here is not as powerful as the image processing software on my PC. So I scan the frame, the full frame, use more of the pixels off the sensor, and then I'll fix that on the PC, and I'll show you how I do that. So this is what the film looks like when it's scanned. Right, you get the image on the film plus a little bit of the frame above and below, and everything is going faster because it's playing back at 20 frames per second, and the film was originally shot at 18. So what we need to do is we need to correct this, but the sharpness is there, the picture quality is excellent, as you can see. So what we need to do is we need to import this into Adobe Premiere and correct it. So let's do that. So what I did, I created a custom editing mode. I set my time base for 30 frames. My video settings were set for 1440 by 1080 with an aspect ratio of 1, or pixel shape of 1.0. Frame rate is at 30 frames per second. Okay, we're using square pixels. Progressive fields, or progressive frames, no fields. And the audio, well, it doesn't matter, because we'll be adding music, but that doesn't matter because there's nothing on here anyway. So we picked that custom setting and open the project. And now I just need to drag the film into my timeline. And what this gives me is a frame that is not correct as of yet. I have to go down to my timeline. I'll right click. I'll change the speed. For 18 frames would be 90%, and for 16 frames it's 80%. So I select 80% playback. Now our speed is correct. So if I play the film, you'll see that the speed is correct. And I can play it on my big monitor as well, and it plays correct. But now I need to crop the size, because as you can see, everything's too wide. So I'm going to go up here to my video effects, my motion, and I'm going to uncheck this box here that says uniform scale. Of course, when you've got the box collapsed, you can't really read it, but it says uniform scale. So we're going to uncheck that box, and this allows me to set my scale height and the scale width. And I figured out that my scale width is, I think it's 86 on here. So if I type in 86, you'll see that the frame, the picture will actually, once I select it, will actually fill the frame properly. There we go. And then my vertical is 125, I think I picked. 125, I think that's correct. And now I can just use my positioner here to set my frame, right? So I can set it right to the boundary. And the same with the horizontal position. There's the sprocket holes, and there's the edge of the frame. So we just kind of settle it in there. And that's it. Now the film is ready to edit. And then I can just edit it like I normally would edit anything else. In this case, I'm not doing any editing. I'm just adding the music and let the film play, add the music in. It'll also display on my plasma so I can see it in full screen. And there it is on my plasma. I can preview there. That's my father-in-law there smoking. So obviously he had somebody else taking the picture of him. But I can see it on the big screen as well as on the edit monitor. I can go one frame at a time if I want, just by freezing it and using my directional arrows. I can, pick up one frame at a time. If I'm going to edit, once I'm done, I just go up to the file and select export media to be in the project here. Export media, and then I'll save it as H2.64, and I'm going to save it in my settings for my Wolverine, which is a 4:3, which will save my output as a 30 frame per second progressive at 1440 by 1080. And then I just put in the file name and click export, and that's it. That's how I transfer film over with the Wolverine scanner to get the aspect and speed correct. So for the speed correction for 16 frames, it's 80%. For 18 frames, it's 90%. And if it's shot at 24 frames, you speed it up to 121%. And that will give you the correct speed for the standard film speeds for anything that comes off of the scanner itself. Because it's progressive scan, there's no juddering or anything. You can speed it up or slow it down, and the output looks perfect. Anyway, that's how I've been doing these old vintage films. You can hear in the background the machine's ticking away as I'm transferring another film now. It's very time consuming, the actual transferring. It scans at 2 frames per second, but the quality of the image is more than acceptable. And I know some people are gonna, they're gonna knock the scanner and say it's not very good and that you can get better ones. And yeah, there are better ones available that are a lot more money. But for what this thing costs, I certainly have nothing to complain about. I've done several hundred rolls of film. Most of them were 200 to 400 foot reels. So there are, there are hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of hours. My machine's probably got, it's had 335 reels put through it now, and most of them were 200 to 400 footers. So, 200 foot reel takes about 2 hours, 400 foot reel takes about 4 hours. You can do the math. So 334 reels, I say very few of them were 50 footers. Most of them were the big reels. It's had hundreds and hundreds of hours, and the take-up motor just failed on it. Actually failed while I was doing this project. Anyway, that's how we do it. Thanks for watching.